The highway stretched endlessly before me, a black ribbon under a sky dusted with stars. The vast expanse of the night sky was both beautiful and intimidating, a reminder of how small I was in the grand scheme of things. The stars twinkled like distant beacons, but none of them offered the comfort I sought. The road seemed to go on forever, an unending path that swallowed me in its darkness. My headlights cut through the darkness, the only sign of life for miles. They created a tunnel of light that guided me forward, but the isolation was palpable. Every now and then a shadow would dart across the road, perhaps a nocturnal animal or just my imagination playing tricks on me. The hum of the engine was the only sound, a constant companion in the silent night. I was running on fumes and fatigue, my eyelids heavy. The monotony of the drive was taking its toll, and I found myself fighting to stay awake. Each blink seemed to last a fraction of a second longer, and I knew I needed to find a place to rest soon. The thought of pulling over and sleeping in the car crossed my mind, but the idea of being stranded in the middle of nowhere was unsettling. Just when I thought I'd have to sleep in my car, a beacon cut through the darkness, a gas station bathed in fluorescent light. It was like an oasis in the desert, a small pocket of civilization in the vast emptiness. The bright lights were a stark contrast to the surrounding darkness, and I felt a surge of relief. Finally, a place to rest and refuel, both for my car and myself. Relief washed over me. I pulled in, grateful for the break in the monotonous journey. The tires crunched on the gravel as I came to a stop, and I took a moment to gather myself. The journey had been long and tiring, and this unexpected stop was a welcome respite. I turned off the engine and let out a deep breath, feeling the tension slowly leave my body. The air hung heavy and still as I stepped out of my car, the silence broken only by the hum of the station's neon sign. The cool night air was refreshing, a stark contrast to the stuffy interior of the car. I stretched my legs, feeling the stiffness in my muscles from hours of driving. The neon sign buzzed softly, its light casting eerie shadows on the ground. The place seemed deserted. The pumps stood like silent sentinels, their shadows stretching long and thin in the artificial glow. It was as if time had stopped here, and I was the only one who had disturbed the stillness. The emptiness was both comforting and unsettling, a reminder of the isolation of the open road. There was an unsettling stillness about the place, a sense of isolation that pressed upon me. The quiet was almost oppressive, and I found myself longing for some sign of life, a reassurance that I wasn't completely alone. The gas station, though a beacon of light, felt like a relic from another time, forgotten and abandoned. I pushed open the glass door, the bell above it jingling softly, a discordant sound in the quiet night. The interior was dimly lit, and the smell of stale coffee and old magazines greeted me. It was a small, cramped space, but it offered a sense of security. I walked to the counter, hoping to find someone who could help, or at least offer a friendly face in the lonely night. The warmth inside the gas station was a welcome contrast to the chill outside. The biting cold had seeped into my bones, and the sudden change in temperature was almost jarring. The fluorescent lights cast a soft yellow glow, creating an illusion of comfort and safety. It smelled faintly of gasoline and stale coffee, a scent that was oddly nostalgic, reminding me of countless late-night road trips. Behind the counter, a woman was engrossed in a magazine, her face barely visible under a shock of dark hair. The magazine's glossy pages reflected the overhead lights, and she seemed lost in whatever world the pages held. I wondered what kind of stories captivated her attention so completely. I cleared my throat and she looked up, startled. Her name tag read Maria. Her eyes, dark and wary, quickly scanned me before she offered a tired smile. It was the kind of smile that spoke of long hours and countless interactions with strangers passing through. "Just me," I said, trying to sound casual. The words felt hollow in the vast emptiness of the gas station. Maria nodded, her attention already drifting back to her magazine. I could tell she was used to the solitude, the quiet moments between the occasional customer. I walked over to the coffee machine, its gurgling a comforting sound in the otherwise silent space. The machine seemed ancient, its metal surface worn and scratched from years of use. I poured myself a cup, the aroma doing little to dispel the growing unease I felt. The coffee was hot, almost scalding, but it was a welcome distraction.
"Just me."
I took a sip, the bitter liquid warming me from the inside. As I stood there, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The gas station, though seemingly ordinary, had an air of mystery about it. It was as if the walls held secrets, whispers of stories untold. Two other figures occupied the space, a trucker, his face hidden behind a newspaper, and a young couple whispering quietly in a corner booth. The trucker seemed oblivious to the world around him, his focus entirely on the newsprint. The couple, on the other hand, seemed to be in their own little world, their heads close together as they spoke in hushed tones. Their presence, though reassuring, did little to dispel the eerie feeling that clung to the place like a shroud. The gas station felt like a liminal space, a place between worlds where time seemed to stand still. Every sound was amplified, from the hum of the refrigerator to the distant rumble of a passing truck. I couldn't help but wonder about the lives of the people around me. What brought them here, to this lonely gas station in the middle of the night? Were they running from something, or perhaps searching for something they had lost? The question swirled in my mind, adding to the sense of unease. The young couple's whispers grew softer, almost inaudible, as if they were sharing secrets meant only for each other. The trucker turned a page of his newspaper, the rustling sound echoing in the quiet. Maria glanced up from her magazine, her eyes meeting mine for a brief moment before she looked away. The eerie feeling that clung to the place like a shroud seemed to grow stronger. It was as if the gas station was a living entity, watching and waiting. I took another sip of my coffee, trying to shake off the sensation, but deep down I knew that this night was far from ordinary. Shadows and whispers filled the air, hinting at stories yet to be told. I paid for my coffee and a pack of cigarettes, the familiar routine offering a small comfort in the otherwise unsettling night. The gas station was a small oasis of light in the vast darkness, a temporary refuge from the long, lonely road ahead. Making small talk with Maria, the night shift cashier. She was a friendly face in the middle of nowhere, and her warm smile was a welcome sight. We exchanged pleasantries, discussing the weather and the latest local news, both of us trying to fill the silence that seemed to press in from all sides. Who seemed as eager to fill the silence as I was. Her laughter, though genuine, had a nervous edge to it, as if she too felt the weight of the night bearing down on us. The fluorescent lights flickered slightly, adding to the eerie atmosphere. The trucker grunted a goodbye before disappearing back into the night. His departure left a void, the sound of his engine fading into the distance, leaving behind an almost palpable silence. The young couple, their faces etched with worry, left soon after. They had been whispering to each other, their hushed tones adding to the sense of unease that seemed to permeate the air. Their departure only heightened the feeling of isolation. Maria and I were alone again, the silence returning, heavier this time. The hum of the refrigerator and the occasional beep of the cash register were the only sounds breaking the stillness. I could feel the tension in the air, a shared sense of foreboding that neither of us dared to voice. As I sipped my coffee, I noticed a figure lurking in the shadows at the edge of the parking lot. The figure was barely visible, a dark silhouette against the dimly lit backdrop. My heart skipped a beat as I strained my eyes to get a better look. It was a man, tall and lanky, his features obscured by the darkness. He stood motionless, almost blending into the night, but there was something about his presence that felt off, something that made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. He seemed to be watching the gas station, his stance rigid, predatory. His eyes, though hidden in the shadows, felt like they were boring into me, scrutinizing my every move. I couldn't shake the feeling that he was waiting for something, or someone. I tried to shake off the uneasy feeling, telling myself it was just my imagination running wild. After all, it was late, and the mind tends to play tricks in the dead of night. But no matter how much I tried to rationalize it, the sense of dread lingered. It was probably just a weary traveler like myself, seeking solace in the bright lights of the gas station. Maybe he was lost, or just taking a break from the long drive. But the way he stood there, so still, so intent, made it hard to believe he was just passing through. But the man's presence, his unwavering gaze, sent a shiver down my spine. There was something almost predatory about the way he watched, as if he were a hunter, and I his prey. The night seemed to close in around me, the darkness pressing in, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something was very, very wrong. My gaze kept returning to the man outside. He remained rooted to the spot, a silent, unsettling sentinel. I tried to focus on my coffee, tried to lose myself in the pages of a magazine, but the man's presence was a lead weight in my stomach. I caught Maria watching him too, her brow furrowed with concern.
Do you know him?
I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Maria shook her head, her eyes still fixed on the figure outside.
Never seen him before. We don't get many visitors this late, especially not like him.
Her words did little to calm my nerves. The man exuded an aura of menace, a palpable threat that hung in the air between us. My hand instinctively went to my pocket, checking for my phone, my heart pounding against my ribs. Suddenly the bell above the door jangled, shattering the tense silence. The man from the parking lot stepped inside, his shadow falling long and dark across the floor. He was tall and wiry, with stringy hair and eyes that glinted with an unnatural light. A chill ran down my spine as our eyes met. He smelled faintly of gasoline and something else, something metallic and sharp. "Evening," he drawled, his voice a low, guttural sound that seemed to scrape against the silence. He walked towards the counter, his movements slow and deliberate, his gaze never leaving Maria. I watched him, my muscles tensed, a knot of dread tightening in my stomach. This was not a weary traveler seeking refuge, this was something else entirely, something dangerous and unpredictable.
The man slammed his hand on the counter, making Maria jump. "Phone," he demanded, his voice a harsh whisper. "Need to make a call."
Maria, her face pale, pointed to the phone at the back of the store.
He grinned, a chilling, humorless expression, and sauntered towards the phone, his hand disappearing into his jacket pocket. I knew with a sickening certainty that this was no ordinary robbery. There was something deeply unsettling about the man's demeanor, a chilling glint in his eyes that spoke of violence. As he reached the phone, he pulled out a gleaming knife, the blade catching the light. "Get down!" I shouted, throwing myself to the floor as the man whirled around, his eyes blazing with fury. The man roared, a primal sound that reverberated through the small store. He charged towards me, knocking over displays of chips and candy bars, his face contorted with rage. I scrambled back, adrenaline pumping through my veins. He lunged, the knife flashing dangerously close to my face. I rolled to the side, grabbing a metal rack of magazines and flinging it at him. The rack caught him off guard, giving me a precious few seconds. I scrambled to my feet, my heart pounding.
Maria threw a can of soda, which bounced harmlessly off his chest. "Run!" she screamed, her voice raw with terror.
We both made a dash for the back door, the man's enraged shouts echoing behind us. The back door was jammed. I slammed my shoulder against it again and again, panic rising in my throat. The man was getting closer, his heavy footsteps pounding behind us. Just when I thought we were trapped, the door burst open, sending me stumbling into the cool night air. We didn't stop running. We ran through the darkness, our lungs burning, the sound of our own ragged breaths filling our ears. Behind us, the man's enraged yells followed us, echoing in the stillness of the night. We didn't dare look back, didn't dare slow down until we reached the safety of my car. I slammed the car door shut and fumbled for the lock. Maria was beside me, gasping for breath, her eyes wide with terror. I threw the car into reverse and sped away, the tires spitting gravel. As I drove, the gas station lights grew smaller and smaller in the rearview mirror until they were just pinpricks of light in the vast darkness. We were safe for now, but the events of that night, the terror in Maria's eyes, the chilling gleam of the man's knife, would forever be etched in my memory. The highway stretched before me, no longer a symbol of freedom but a reminder of the darkness that lurks on the fringes, waiting for an opportunity to erupt. The gas station, once a beacon of hope in the night, would forever be a chilling reminder of the night terror came to call.